All right. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final day of the how to find, fund, and analyze your hotel deal. And my name is Davon Reeves over at Vestor Academy, co-owner of 3 hotels across 2 different states. And my goal is just to help folks become hotel owners and investors. So I see some some investors and future hotel owners on the call that we've helped along the way. And so the first 2 nights, the first night we had Nicholas Mentor. He talked about ways that you can fix or build your personal and business credit. The second day, which was yesterday, we had Talisa Stubbs walk you through the creative financing. And then tonight we're going to have Tommy Buyer, who's going to walk you through how to find and analyze the deal. So how many people were here for the first night?
I missed it, but yesterday and the first night, and I had it on my calendar. But anyhow, do you all have a playback?
Yeah, you should have received. Yeah, you should have received a link to for the replay.
Okay, I haven't seen it.
Yeah, you should have received a link. If not, it'll go out again today with the dashboard. I could put it in the chat. So yeah. So how many people y'all were here for the first? Y'all were here for the first night. Okay. What about the second night?
Missed that one.
It's okay. We'll send out.
Can you put that link? Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So we're just gonna go ahead and get this party started. Tommy is a good friend of mine. We've been in the industry friends definitely over 15 years. And he started off as a valet attendant, right?
Yep.
Yeah, he started off as a valet attendant and moved his way up to a general manager, regional, worked for corporate for a management company, helped start a hotel REIT, and is an asset manager. He's actually an asset manager of my 3 hotels. So he got them bad boys in the shape. You know what I mean? So Tommy don't play. He actually knows more about hotels than I do. So he is my go-to for hotels. So you're not gonna meet too many people that know more about hotels than Tommy or who has the experience as Tommy. So I'm going to pass the baton over to Tommy, and he is going to drop some gems on how you can analyze a deal, and make sure you stay to the end because we'll have something special for you. All right, Tommy.
Well, it's good to be with everybody. Davon, good to connect with you again, as always. I'm coming to you guys live in Phoenix. I was flying all day, so but I feel rested and ready to go. So I'm excited to share with you guys how to analyze some deals. Has anybody out there analyzed a deal before, as a hotel deal? Anybody? Anybody? Is that new? And your first one, is anybody done? Anybody seen the analyzer? Just pop in the chat if you've analyzed the deal or you've seen the analyzer. Just let us know. We'll comment back. All right, Jaleese hasn't done it yet. Yeah, so what I'm showing you guys here is a high-level deal analyzer that Devon and I put together. And the idea of it is, like, let's start back. If you want to own a hotel, you need to know how to analyze the hotel, right? Does that make sense, right? You got to know the numbers, right? Devon calls me the human calculator. I'm pretty good with numbers. I don't know if I'm a human calculator, but I'm pretty good with numbers. So the question is, like, if you're, it's cool to say I want to be a hotel owner, but if you don't know how to analyze your numbers, you haven't done your homework, then that's a scary, proposition. And there's a lot of people out there who don't take the time to analyze the deal. They get sold by a broker, or they get sold by somebody on some off-market deal, And before you know it, they've put down hard money, and then they reach out and they go get the deal professionally analyzed by somebody like me or even Devon, although she hates to analyze deals. And then, and then we run the numbers and go, wait a minute, what? You're paying too much, or this deal doesn't work. Or maybe you got lucky and maybe it does work. Maybe you came across a broker who's trying to tell you the truth. Not all brokers lie to you, but some of them, they're trying to sell you something. Right? That's their goal. Just like a seller, they're trying to sell you their hotel. So you got to be careful with that. So what we have here is you'll hear people call it pro formas, right? Pro forma is just simply looking at historical data and then pro formaing, right? Predicting essentially the future for that property and the future performance. And pro formas can be pretty detailed. They can take a long time, and they can be overwhelming, especially if you're new to the industry. So what we've done here is put together a high-level screener, and this should take you less time. It's easier to understand if you're new to the business. And if the deal works on this screener, then I would suggest you move on to that next level, call it the more detailed pro forma and analysis. So we put this together because there's not a lot of high-level screeners out there. And if there are, it's all internal proprietary stuff to companies that you'll never have access to, which is why we put this together so you'd have access to something like this. So, all right, let's run through the numbers. I hope you're ready. I hope you had a coffee or something. You're ready to go, because this is going to be a lot of information. We're going to jam pack it all in, and then we're going to at the end. So everything in blue is an input cell. Okay. So first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your property name here, right? So let's call it Devon Resort and Spa. How about that? So Devon's Resort and Spa. In this case, it's 95 rooms. Keys or rooms, it's the same thing. You're going to put the year that it's built. This Devon's Resort was built in 2008. Okay. And now we're going to move on. Like I told you, we're going fast. Take some notes. You can come back and listen to this if you need to. Acquisition is how much you're paying for it, right? That's pretty basic. We're going to pay $4.5 million for Devon's Resort. And then this is breaking down the per key price. So that's $47,000 per key or per room. The next thing you're going to do is look at the working capital. And you might say, what's working capital? Well, just like any business, if you're going to go in and start this bit, buy the hotel, you're going to need to put money into a bank account so you can operate. You got payrolls, you got utility deposits, insurance deposits. There's all kinds of things you're going to need to pay up front, right? That doesn't just, you're going to make money day one, or you should, but you're going to need that money to pay for supplies and all these other things. So you're going to need a little bit of working capital to start, okay? I'm just putting, these are all fudge numbers, or just fictitious numbers. The next thing is called key money. Does anybody know what key money is? Anybody ever heard of key money? So key money is money that's given to you by either a brand, mostly by a brand, or a management company. So what would happen is, let's say you're going to buy Devon's Resort and Spa, and you're going to take it from an independent hotel, which is not branded, and you're going to go to Wyndham, let's say, and say, hey, I want to make this a Wyndham. And Wyndham says, okay, sure, we'll give you key money. And usually they give it to you on a per key number, like $5,000 per key or $10,000 per key or whatever. The higher volume the hotel is, the better the location is, the more money you can expect to get on key money. So in this case, we're saying that the brand's going to give them $400,000. Okay. And we could do a whole class on key money. It's super complicated. But just know, for the purposes of this, it's in here as negative because it's money that it's reducing the price of your property, right? Because the brand's giving it to you, so that's money coming in. That's why it's a negative number. Okay. The next is a PIP. So you're buying Devon's Resort and Spa, and we've got to convert it to a Wyndham. And now we've got to put money in, and it's called to renovate it, and that's called a PIP. It's a property improvement plan, right? It's the brand comes in, Wyndham would walk the hotel, they'd send somebody there, and they literally go and look at every area and they'd say, okay, you need new mattresses, you need new TVs, you need to paint the exterior, and they write this thing up called a PIP. And then you get the PIP and you have to say, okay, what's all this going to cost? And you have to go price it out, right? And again, we could help you with this. There's all kinds of other companies that can help you with these kinds of things, but you got to price it out because you got to build it in to the deal and to your analyze, right? So we're saying it's going to be 1.2 million, which is $12,600 per room. Okay. The last thing we're putting in here is closing costs, right? So you're going to have to pay a lawyer, right, to help close the deal. You're going to have to pay a broker, not the broker. You're going to pay, if you're buying it, you're going to pay the maybe a mortgage broker, right? Maybe the bank needs they're going to charge a point or something on origination. A lot of times that gets rolled into the loan. But there's other closing costs, like when you become part of a brand, you have to pay a license transfer fee, right? And those can be anywhere from like 50,000 to 200,000. It depends on the brand. So you would pay that to Wyndham or Hilton. Okay? And we've got that. If you look in here, it's actually a formula. It's just 2% of the deal. That's kind of a rough number that we have just built in here. All right, so we're paying $5.4 million for total for Devon's Hotel if we include everything. By the time we renovate it, we put the workman in, we get our key money, and that's going to be $57,000 per key. So somebody hit me in the chat. Is $57,000 per key a lot or a little? Is it a good price? Is it a bad price? What do you guys think? Let me know. Let's see what we got in here. All right, so Chantel says she's analyzed the deal before, thinks it's a good price. Okay. Anybody else think? What do you think? Good price, Jolie's decent price, bad? Is it good, bad? We buying this? We sell it? What are we doing? We moving on to the next one? Are we taking out a second mortgage on our house to go buy this deal? All right, so let's talk about per key price for a second. In the industry, we look at deals a number of different ways. One, we're going to look at cap rate, which we're going to talk about in a minute. Two, we're going to look at, you look at a deal on a price per key, okay? And you look at that as a comparison to replacement cost. Replacement cost means, what would it cost me to build this hotel as it sits? That means land and everything, right? And if you're paying less than that, then that's a good deal. It's a sign that it's a good deal, right? But it doesn't mean you should necessarily buy it. So as an example, to build a Hampton Inn on the side of a highway right now, in a secondary market, you're going to be paying probably $175,000 per key. Okay, that's just a Hampton Inn, a select service hotel. Same with like a Fairfield Inn, 150 to 175, depending on what market, what the land cost is. So $57,000 is not a lot of money. But for those of you who said it was a good price, you're right. It's not a lot of money. Except it depends. It depends, right? Now we're going to go look and we're going to layer in the historical data, okay? So we're going to go back. You're going to go to the broker or the seller, and you're going to go get as much historical data as you can. The more, the merrier, right? But you at least want to make sure you're getting at least 3 years worth of data. So you'll see here, we've got 2021, 2022, and then we have a TTM, which is a trailing 12 months through 2023, okay? And if they don't give that to you, it's a little bit of a red flag, right? But you might be buying the deal from somebody who's unsophisticated. But I would push as hard as I can to get some kind of data, right? Just the more you have, the better you are, okay? All right, look. So now what we're doing is we're going to go enter in our occupancy, our ADR, and our RevPAR. Not our RevPAR is already calculated, but occupancy. The formula there is simple, right? Occupancy is simply the number of rooms you sold divided by the number of rooms that are available. So, and that's by any period. So you can have occupancy by day, by month, by year. In this case, we're talking about by year. So for for 365 days, how many rooms did we sell divided by how many rooms did we have available, okay? That's the calculation. And it's important for you guys to know that. It seems simple enough, but people don't know these calculations. ADR stands for average daily rate. And the calculation for ADR is your room revenue divided by the number of rooms you sold, okay? That's your average daily rate. It's the average for every room we sold, right? RevPAR is the next calculation. And RevPAR means revenue per available room. And the way that's calculated is it's your room revenue divided by your available rooms. And RevPAR is probably the most important KPI or key performance indicator in the hospitality industry. And the reason is we're selling a perishable product, okay? I'm sitting in a hotel room right now. If this hotel room wasn't sold today, I can't sell it. I can't go sell it again tomorrow. I can sell it for a new day, but if I don't sell it today, I'm losing out on revenue, right? So you want to make sure you're getting the highest revenue per available room in your hotel, right? If you sold one room for $1,000, but you didn't sell any of the other rooms, it doesn't matter, right? You made $1,000. But if you sold all of your rooms for $100, and in this case, you have 95 rooms, so what do we make? 9,500, right? But your ADR is only $100 in that case versus $1,000. So the point is, ADR is important, but it's not what you take to the bank. You're taking your RevPAR to the bank, okay? Everybody get that? Makes sense? Is there a threshold we should aim at per key? Yeah, so Jolise is a good question. Her question is, when you're out there looking to buy a hotel, is there a range you should kind of focus on? And it's a moving target, and it's moving. The point is, that's going to be different by the type of hotel you're buying. So if it's a full service hotel and it has a restaurant and a bar, that's going to be a different price per key. If it's in New York City, it's a different price per key than, somewhere in the middle of nowhere, Nevada, right? Okay, so those are different price points. If you're buying a Marriott hotel versus a Choice hotel, those are different price points per key. So the point is, there's not really, I can't really tell you is a good range, because as an example, if you were buying a hotel in New York City and it was $200,000 per key, it's a really, really good deal. But if you're buying that same hotel in the middle of Nevada, it's a bad deal for you, right? So it's really driven by market, by type of hotel. So type of hotel, and also by chain scale, right? And if you're not familiar with chain scale, and again, you'll have to stop me because we can go all day on this stuff. But chain scale, real quick, is a type of property. So in the industry, you have luxury, upper upscale, upper mid-scale, and then you have economy. So economy is like Days Inn, right? Econo Lodge, and then you have luxury, which is like Ritz-Carlton, everything kind of in between. So again, depends on chain scale, and hopefully that makes sense for you guys. So let's keep moving. So room revenue is the next thing, but that's automatically calculated in here for you, so that's easy. If the hotel has food and beverage, you would type it in. So if they, you would put in like however much food and beverage they have, you put that in there. Miscellaneous revenue, you'll put that in. That's things like gift shop, parking, resort fee, telephone usage, guest laundry, all that stuff. And lastly, it's going to calculate your total revenue. Okay? And you'll see also over here, it's calculating the percentage of revenue for you. It's already doing that, the sheet is. So next we're moving to GOP, and that's your gross operating profit. Gross operating profit is your total revenue minus your operating expenses, okay? Operating expenses are like payroll, supplies, utilities, franchise fees, all of those kinds of things. Those are operating expenses, okay? And then you have your NOI, which is your net operating income. And the calculation for that is your GOP, your gross operating profit, minus your not non-operating expenses and like more fixed expenses. So that's gonna be property taxes, insurance, things like that, maybe some management fees, and then you have your NOI. Okay, so you should have all this on the financials that you're reviewing. Some of them are going to be like QuickBooks. Some of them are going to be super professional. It just depends on what kind of hotel you're buying and who you're buying it from. If it's run by a management company, the chances are the financials will be a little bit easier to read and understand. If it's run by an owner operator, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to kind of parse through that. All right, next you have cap rate. So you may have heard this called capitalization rate. You may or may not be familiar with it. It's super common in terminology in commercial real estate. So hopefully everybody's familiar with it. But if you're a newbie, let me explain it to you. It's pretty simple. It's just the calculation is dividing your NOI by your purchase price. Okay. And what it means is it's really telling you how long is it going to take you to pay back the purchase price. So let's see, if we look at this, we're paying right around 5.5 million. Okay. And if I look here in year 2022, the hotel had an NOI of 550,000. So that's a 10% cap rate. And what it means is over the course of 10 years at that number, you would have paid back the asset, right? Because you would have had 550, you start stacking that up. So 550 times 10 is 5.5 million, right? And the idea about cap rates is the higher the cap rate, usually the better the deal is for you as a purchaser, except most of the time, if it's a higher cap rate, the deal's a little riskier. So it means you're going to be in a market that's not as, the barriers to entry aren't super high. So somebody could build a hotel next door to you, or maybe you're buying a deal that's economy, and the economy hotels have a higher cap rate, again, because there's more risk associated with those. But if you bought a Ritz-Carlton in Times Square, that hotel is going to trade at like a 7 cap, 6.5 or something like that, right? And the reason is it's super high barrier to entry. It's not as risky, but it's going to take you longer to pay back the price because of those reasons, right? So, but if you're a seller, you want to sell at a low cap rate, right? But if you're buying, you want to buy at a high cap rate. Does that make sense? Right? You guys get that? Because here, let's look at this as an example. Let's for a minute pretend that we own Devon's Resort and Spa, and I want to get 6.5 million for it. Okay, at 6.5 million, that's a 7.3 cap. So again, remember, the lower the cap rate and you're selling, it's better for you. But if you're buying it, you want to be buying it on. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense for you guys. Hopefully that's super basic. But if it's not, I get it. Don't feel like you're on some island. It takes people a long time to understand that. And some people, most people who understand it have had some sort of formal education. But you guys are smart because you're sitting in on this call this evening. So I appreciate you doing that. All right, let's look at this real quick. One thing to note about your GOP and your NOI, these are also super important key performance indicators in the industry. So you're going to look at the percentage of revenue, right? So you want to make sure that your GOP and your NOI are as high as they can be. So if this, one thing to note is that in a full service hotel, so a hotel that again has a restaurant, maybe it has some other ancillary amenities like a spa or what have you. Usually the profit margins, like the NOI margin and GOP margin, are lower because there's more overhead associated with those. But if you guys are buying an economy hotel, you would usually see higher GOP margins, and especially if you're buying like an extended stay hotel, like Devon owns the Staybridge Suite, you should have even higher margins. And the reason is people are staying in those rooms for an extended period of time. And because they're doing that, you don't have to go in to clean them all the time. the cost of customer acquisition goes down, so the profit margin goes up. So that's why a lot of people like extended stay. So you'll hear some people throw out percentages. Some people say like, hey, a limited service property should have at a minimum a GOP margin 40% and an NOI margin of 32%. I don't really like to, I'm not going to kind of pigeonhole the deal into that. I'm not going to really give you those numbers. The reason is every market is so different. Every brand is so different. So, but maybe it's a good guideline, right? But, it's like I said, so maybe think about GOP margin should be in the 40s on a limited service deal. NOI margin should be in the 30s. The higher the ADR and the higher your occupancy, the better chance you have of having higher margins, right? Higher profit margins. And that only makes sense because every room I'm selling a higher number, I'm just charging more people to go in there. So I should have higher profit margins. But you guys may be getting into a deal where there's a value add component. You might hear people say that. Has anybody ever heard value add? Anybody ever seen that out there? You might hear brokers saying, hey, this is a value add deal. And what they might mean by that is, yes, Chantel heard it. So what they mean by that is there's a way for you to add value to this deal. And it might be operationally. And what I mean by that is it might be that they're an owner operator, so they don't have professional management in there. Or maybe they don't have like an asset manager like me, or maybe the owner knows nothing about hotels. Maybe they're an absentee owner. I work right now with a client who lives in Europe and they own a hotel on the West Coast of the US. The hotel is actually doing okay, but he brought me on, right? But some people don't do that. Some people don't step foot on their hotel for years, right? And as a result, they're not watching the numbers closely. So usually the profit margins aren't as high as they could be. So that might be what the broker is saying. You come in, you buy it, you bring in either a better general manager or you bring in a management company, and you can improve the profit margins, right? So that might be a part of the value add. The other part of the value add may be you're going to buy the hotel and you're going to take it from a Wyndham and you're going to make it a Hilton, right? Or you're going to take it from a Choice and you're going to make it a Marriott, right? That's adding value, right? Bringing in a better management company or a better operator, that may be adding value, right? So that's what they mean by value. All right, so look, we've got our historical data. I'm moving on. You're going to use this historical data to look at trends. You want to see, okay, how did they do in 2021 in occupancy and ADR? How did they do in 2022? How did they do in 2023? What do the trends look like? What's their total revenue done? What's their GOP and NOI done? How are they doing? Okay. You're going to look at those trends, and then you're going to come down here, and this is where you got to kind of polish up your crystal ball, and you got to decide how are you going to project out the future performance of this hotel. Okay. So I'm going to get to the inflation in a minute, but first you're going to project out year one only, year one occupancy. Okay. It ran 80% back in September 2023. And then the ADR, we're using 125, it ran a 120. Now, keep in mind, this is a full year after you've owned it. So you've owned it now for 12 months. This is year one. Okay. So the hotel did 3.3 million in 2023. Now you think it's going to go to about 3.5 million. Okay. Then we're projecting out our GOP and our NOI. And in order to do this, you might have to think about it. Let's, for argument's sake, say Devon was running this. Devon, in this fairy tale world, knows nothing about hotels. Obviously, we know she knows a ton about hotels. She's a hotel queen. However, let's say it's a different Devon, okay? This Devon knows nothing about hotels. So they're not doing a good job running the property. And we think we can come in and operate it better. So maybe we think we can take the NOI, the GOP margin from 900,000, and we can push it up to $1,075,000. So we're going from 27% profit margin to 30. And then we can take the NOI from 450,000 to 700,000. Okay. These are your projections, right? If you're going to do a full-blown pro forma, you're going to have to do this anyways. The brokers are doing this, right? This is just real quick back to the napkin. Keep that in mind. So once we have year one done, we've got to go decide, okay, how much are we going to inflate the future years by? And the inflation rate is going to change by market, right? So if you're in Phoenix, maybe it's not 3, maybe it's 3.5, right? But if you're in LA, maybe 1.5, right? I'm just kind of picking out. Maybe if you're in Orlando, it's or Tampa, it's 3.5, right? Or if you're in, I'm just giving you guys different ideas. If you're in middle of nowhere, Nevada, maybe it's 1%, So for argument's sake, let's just say it's 3%. So we've got our pro forma year one assumptions. And here, keep in mind, look, this is saying if you had a $700,000 NOI, your cap rate, your year one cap rate is a 12.8. So who likes a 12.8 cap? Anybody like that deal? Does that feel good? Sound good? Anybody want to buy that? I mean, I like it. Yeah. Chantel had her coffee. She knows what's up. I like 12.8 cap. That's a good deal. All right, look, now we're moving on to debt assumptions, okay? We have our loan amount in here, equity, and all this is being calculated down here, okay? So you've got to type in your interest rate. You got to type in your LTV or LTC, which is loan to value or loan to cost. Essentially, how much of a loan are you going to get? And then you have to type in your amortization period, okay? If you don't know what to put here, talk to the broker, talk to a mortgage broker. You can talk to people like us. We can help you out with this, right? In the industry now, the interest rate is going to change depending on how risky the deal is. And if it's a super clean deal and it has a strong history of stable cash flows right now, maybe you're going to get a 7% interest rate, or maybe even 6.75. But if it doesn't, and it's something like this deal where you're kind of pushing, you're taking the NOI from 450 to 7, it's more of a what they call a pro forma deal. Maybe your interest rate is an 8.75. Maybe it's a 9. Who knows, right? And then maybe your LTV is also going to change, right? Because what happens is the bank says, okay, they're going to say this is not a really clean deal. This is a bit of a risky deal. The bank is trying to protect themselves, right? They don't. That's their whole goal. They want to lend out money, but they want to lend it with the least chance of something bad happening, right? The banks are scared, right? Especially because of 08 and all that stuff. Okay. So if it's a riskier deal, they're going to give you higher interest rate and they're going to give you less money. So you're going to have to bring more equity to the table to get the deal done. Okay. So this has also your annual payment calculated. All right, we're moving on. We're going to sale assumptions. Next, okay, terminal cap rate. Terminal, okay. You may hear people call it reversion. And what it means is when you sell the hotel, what are you going to sell it at? What cap rate are you going to sell the deal at? Okay. And look, we're buying it on like an 8.2, but it also did a 10. So this deal is probably going to sell, maybe this deal sells at an 11 cap, let's just say, okay? And keep in mind, year one is a 12.8 based on our pro forma. So maybe it sells for an 11 cap. Okay? You have to put in how long you're going to hold it. This model only goes 1 to 5 years. Maybe you want to sell in year 3, year 4. Let's just put year 5. Okay. Then it says sell price. That's 7.1 million. You paid 5.4 million. That feels pretty good. I like that, right? 7.1 minus 5.4, $1.7 million profit in 5 years, plus your cash flow. Now you have selling expenses. You got to pay a broker, right? Broker is going to need to take their commission. Maybe there's some lawyer fees. You have to pay a lawyer, so you got to put in a number there. Maybe it's half, whatever it is. Then you have a net sale price, which is just subtracting those selling expenses. and you have your sale price per key here. So keep in mind, we bought it for 57,000 per room per key. We're selling at 75,000 per room. Lastly, we got an IRR in here, 25%. So keep in mind, when you're looking at your deals, you're looking at IRR, you're looking at how much cash am I going to make off of it, right? What cap rate am I selling it at? But a 25% IRR, we like it, we don't like it. Is that good? Is it bad? Are we doing this deal? Are we not doing the deal? Did we go for ice cream? Look, 25 is good, right? I mean, if you have to give some money to an investor, you're going to give them, maybe you'll give them a portion of the money, but 25% IRR is really good. Most people are doing deals that are anywhere between call it high teens, call it 17 to 22, something like that. If you can get a 25, that's really good. It's a really good IRR. Okay. IRR is your internal rate of return. Okay, that's a good question. And if you go over here to this acquisition data tab, you can see, if you really want to get really kind of nerdy, you can kind of see how it's calculated. In Excel, it's just equals IRR. And it's summing up it's essentially taking your equity that you put in plus all your cash flows, and it spits out the internal rate of return. So in this case, it's a 25%. So 25% is a really good internal rate of return, no doubt. So questions, comments, concerns? I know I ran through it fast. I was supposed to. I want to leave Devon time to run through things with you guys.
I have a question.
Yeah, please.
So the IRR, I'm just trying to figure out, I don't know, like, how do I determine, like, is there a standard number to say, okay, if I'm evaluating this property, this hotel, and it has an IRR of, like, I don't know, 15%, like, what's the standard to say, okay, yeah, this is good? I know you said 25
like
is good.
the range for most people is like, if it's not 18, most people like 20s, right? I'm saying if it's call it 18 to 25 is a pretty good range. 15, most of the time I wouldn't touch a 15% deal, especially because you got to keep in mind, this is all based on your pro forma, right? There's things that can go wrong. We all know that there's crazy things can happen. And as a result, you want to leave yourself a little bit of wiggle room there. So that's why I like to, be in the 20s if you can. Now, to get a deal done with over 20% IRR now is a little bit more difficult because your interest rates are high. Okay. So it doesn't mean it's impossible, but it just means it's a little bit different. So, all right. So Jolie's question is a good one. How do you determine the loan amount and equity amount? And again, you can talk to mortgage brokers. You can talk to the bank selling you the deal if there is one. The idea is, again, if it's a cleaner deal, again, it's cash flowed well, and the history is not a super risky deal, then you're going to get higher LTV, and there'll be less equity required. But maybe you can get SBA loans. You're going to want to talk to a lender, and the lender will give you a pretty good idea. So you can say to the lender, hey, this is the deal I'm looking at. This is my pro forma. And they'll say, oh, okay, I think you would get, XYZ. And those loan brokers, they're kind of really good to talk to because they're doing deals every day, and then they're shopping your deal out to like 50 different lenders, right? Looking for the best deal. Any other questions? What other questions do you guys have? These are good questions. I appreciate you guys.
I have a question.
Oh. Go for it.
So what is your opinion on lease to own hotels versus just either seller financing or just buying it outright?
Yeah, I mean, I think every situation is a little different. I wouldn't say it's a bad idea. I mean, it's not a if you can work it out, it's a little bit more complicated, right? You know, I'd say for the most part, those kinds of deals are, you know, they're probably on the lower end, so they're probably like economy hotels and things like that, and they're probably a little bit more complicated in terms of there's a heavier lift from the standpoint of the revenues aren't good, the profits aren't good. You know, usually if somebody's going to do a deal like that with you, they're not handing you an operation that's doing really well. Right? I have a client. He got into a couple deals like that during COVID, and he did fine, but it was a rough go for a couple of years, and had to have. I would say you want to make sure you have cash reserves or kind of a plan for worst. And maybe in some cases, maybe it's a really easy game plan. Maybe it's this owner's, God forbid, they're on their deathbed or their family wants nothing to do with it. There are those scenarios out there, and then maybe it's really a really good hotel, but they're harder to come by. Like I said, most of the time those deals are pretty hairy. There's some, you know, that they're in a tough market or they need some capital and the owner doesn't have the money to put it in. So just ask a lot of questions, really think through it. You know, don't go into it saying like, oh, I don't have to put any money down, this is going to be great. There's more to it, right? There's, as they say, you know, if it sounds too good to be true, usually it is, but there are people who have done it and been successful. So I don't want to tell you that it can't be done. I just mean to say that just be careful. Any other
I have a
questions?
question.
Yeah.
Can you show us the third tab, the acquisition data? Or is that relevant?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can, this is just spitting out all the same information. It's just the acquisition tab is just pulling from this side, and it's giving you like, you know, your monthly debt service, your beginning loan balance, your annual payments, what's going to interest, what's going to principal, you know, your NOIs. You know, you can spend time looking at it if you like. If you're a kind of a numbers nerd, you can look at it. You know, then you have your DSCR, which is your debt service coverage ratio. And if you haven't fallen asleep yet, this will definitely put you to sleep. But it's important to know, right? You hear people talk about DSCR loans, and the calculation is it's just the NOI divided by your debt service, right? So debt service meaning principal and interest, okay? So this is a 2.19, which is really good. Some loans have these DSCR hurdles, and they'll say, if your hotel is not hitting a 1.5 debt service coverage ratio or DSCR, we're going to put your loan into a cash management. And that means any money that comes into your property goes directly to the bank, and they trap all that cash. And then at the end of the month, they'll take what's left, pay the mortgage, and then they'll give you a portion to pay your expenses. But it's a really bad spot to be in because the bank is controlling all of your money. So you have to be careful with the DSCR. They're pretty common. Usually the interest rates are lower on them, which is a good thing. The bad thing is, you know, there's a bunch of different triggers in there that protect the bank and could kind of trip you up. These are good questions. You guys are keeping me on my toes. Devon, you want to jump in? Do you want to finish us up? I think unless you guys have any other questions, feel free to throw them in there. I appreciate you guys jumping on tonight. I know Devon wanted to share a couple of things before we wrap up.
Is this spreadsheet proprietary, or you made this?
Yeah, we made this. And we actually have it for sale. Either we can send you a link. It's pretty affordable actually, but yeah, we have this, and I think Devon has it in some type of bundle as well. So, But yeah, we can put that in the chat. Yeah, so I'll put me grab the link. I'll put it in there. So who's actively working on a deal now? Is anybody actively working on one?
Yes, I am.
Cool. Anybody else actively working on one? Anybody want to kind of share some of the high level without telling us everything about the deal, like what you're working on?
Sure. What would you like to know? Because I'm new at this, so that's why I thought this would be a perfect session to listen to because I'm actually trying to analyze the deal even further. So I do have the STAR report for 3 years, as you mentioned here. It's very detailed. It goes into the PIP. Also, the hotel that I'm actually acquiring, it doesn't have a PIP going into it. So I guess once I purchase it, I have to get it reevaluated by the brand to see if what the PIP will be in the future and try to negotiate that. But yeah, I'm just trying to piece everything together. I mean, the hotel isn't that expensive. It's a 42 door hotel. It's an economy hotel and it's in a remote area. So I'm hoping I get qualified for what is it? Not an SBA, but it's a USDA loan because they help with rural area hotels. So I'm hoping to get qualified for that. And again, I'm just trying to see if it's a great deal. It's the cap rate is 11% on it. So it's a really good cap rate, but I'm just trying to break it down from the cap rate. Like on the surface, it looks very good. It was explained to me and a couple partners that I have that it's a really good deal. But again, I'm just having trouble analyzing in full detail. So your spreadsheet actually helps out a lot because I can go back and just try to analyze it a lot more. Yeah.
Well, good. That's funny. We were just talking about an 11% cap. Very cool. Congratulations on that. Yeah, I just sent you guys that link in there too. So Joe, Lisa's question is, how would I do a brand new hotel? Would I look at other hotel STAR reports to get the number? Is there another template to use? You know, it's a super good question. If you guys are interested, I can run you through what's called a CoStar report. Has anybody ever heard of? Anybody ever seen a CoStar report? So I'm gonna pull one up and show you guys. You know, this is all analyzing deals, so it all ties together. I was working on one of these projects last week for a guy, and actually, oddly enough, he was looking to do a new build. So let me share my screen and I'll show you this CoStar report. So if you're not familiar with CoStar, they bought Star. I don't know when it was, last year or something. No, it wasn't last year. It was a couple years ago, maybe 4 or 5 years ago now. But anyway, they bought Star, and so they could have access to a bunch of hospitality data. So this is a hospitality submarket report for Miami downtown. And when you get these reports, there's a 30 different pages, and there's all kinds of information. This is telling you what the last 12 months occupancy or ADR is. Okay, you can read through all this. I'm going to kind of blow through and show you some of the areas that I focus in on, which I think will be helpful for you guys. A couple cool things about CoStar is it's telling you right here rooms under construction and where the hotels are. So there's 13 hotels, 2,400 rooms, 22% of the available inventory, which is nuts. I mean, look at this. And I don't know how many people are familiar with Miami, but this is not a huge area. It's decent, but it's not massive. This is not the size of Texas, not even the size of Rhode Island. It's not that big. So for there to be 13 hotels under construction is mind-boggling. I've gone over this a few times with a few different people, and it still blows my mind. And then, okay, look, it's telling you which So you got a Hilton, Miami Bayfront. It's telling you the class, which we already went over, right? That's chain scale, luxury, all the way down to economy. How many rooms, how many stories, when they're starting to build it, when they're going to finish it, and then who's developing it. Okay. So this is telling you, and the reason this is important is you want to know, okay, if I'm building a hotel, how close is it to one of these other ones that are being built, right? What's that going to do to the market? Look, there's 13, there's 2 pages. It's bananas. But also keep in mind, some of these things aren't delivering. Look, this one's not delivering hopefully until January 2028. A lot can happen between now and 2028. There could be aliens coming back for all we know. Look, there's crazy stuff going on, guys. But look, then you move on to the sales. So the other thing I like about this CoStar submarket report is it gives you the last 12 months, what hotels have sold, when they were built, how many rooms. It tells you in some cases how much they sold for. So look, Autograph Collection. Autograph Collection, that's a Marriott property. $53 million, 431 per key. So you guys are asking about price per key. Like I said, Miami downtown, this guy paid 96 or sold it for 96,000 per key. But again, that's mid-scale versus upper upscale. It's completely 2 different things. This was built in 1939. This is built in 2016, right? So it's super hard to compare. But the way you compare is by things that make sense. Just like how you would, just like if you're buying a house, you're going to comp it, right? You've heard of comps. You're comparing to similar homes with similar square footage, years built, all that kind of stuff that are near your house when you're buying. So that's how you're going to compare it. So the next thing I look at is the overall performance. Sorry, bouncing around a little bit here. Overall performance. So this is all the types of hotels combined in here. And it gives you 10 years worth of historical data on occupancy, ADR, and RevPAR. And then it gives you the next 5 years as well. Okay. And then what you really want to do is you really want to drill down to by chain scale. So let's just say you were building a luxury. You won the lottery and you're going to build a new, JW Marriott. Okay. You want to go by chain scale because that is a better representation of how your hotel would perform. Because look at this. In 2023, the luxury and upper upscale hotels in Miami downtown ran 64% at $284. But the whole market, all those hotels ran 66% at $237. So that's a $50 difference in average rate. And it should be because they're nicer hotels. So this is how you can do a couple things with Star. You can order a custom trend report, which gives you can go pick up to 9 or 10 hotels that would be all near where you're building your hotel as a new construction, and they'll give you all of the historical data on those hotels combined. Or you can get one of these CoStar sub-market reports. So the sub-market report, I think, is a little bit kind of zoomed out, and the trend report is zoomed in. Trend reports cost like $600. I don't know what this report costs on its own because usually it's a monthly subscription you have to have for it. So that can help you for sure. Yeah. So yeah. So I think that wraps my portion up and leaves time for Devon to jump in and tell you guys about a couple other things since we're on the last day. But I appreciate you guys taking the time to ask questions. Hopefully you learned something tonight. You had good questions. Devon, it's all yours.
John Joy Tommy. I told y'all he was invited into the cookout. Y'all enjoyed him? Y'all had a good time? Did y'all learn something new? All right. So if y'all enjoyed Tommy, we will be hosting a monthly session or monthly subscription where you'll have access not only to these past recordings because they're going to disappear on August 5th. Y'all know how we do. But we will also host accountability calls. We're changing it up. So if you're already a member of the subscription program, you're already grandfathered in. So again, if you want to continue to work with Tommy, continue to work with other experts. So what that looks like, we'll meet once a month with different topics, different experts. Tommy or myself will come in and just share information and really answer your questions. So if you have a question about a deal, if you have a question about a broker, if you have a question about raising capital, if you just have a question about the capital raising process, you know, accountability call. And then really the biggest thing is having that accountability system, right? That partnership, you know, being a part of the community, you know, working with, I know some folks, they were telling me how they felt discouraged because they were going with other folks saying hotel owners don't make money. If hotel owners didn't make money, Tommy and I wouldn't be doing what we're doing. We would have switched industries by now, right, Tommy? People have made billions of dollars off a hotel. So it's definitely money to be made because guess what? Folks stay in hotels.
I mean, we
So
know that own part of professional sports teams, and they started with hotels.
exactly. So here is the link. I put it in the chat to sign up. Also, you'll get access to these recordings until August 5th. 11th, that's Monday, 11:59. After that, they're going to disappear and they're only going to be available in the Success Kit. If you haven't purchased a Success Kit, or in the Commercial Game Plan Monthly, we're going to close it on August 5th at 11:59. So make sure you sign up. Make sure you're part of the program so that way you'll be able to take advantage of our next call, which will be on Tuesday, August 13th. So we'll meet on the second Tuesday each month. Like I say, different experts, different questions. You'll have an accountability group to come in, answer deals, whatever questions you feel like, hey, I just want to bounce an idea. You never know, you may find your next business partner. We definitely had 2 people that are working on a deal as we speak from being a part of the community. To give you an example of what a potential, the benefits of being a part of a future hotel owner community. One person had strong credit, the other person didn't. So one person knew how to raise capital, the other person didn't. So guess what they did? They combined forces and they brought their strengths and weaknesses together. And now they're literally about to submit an offer on a deal, looking for deals together, raising capital together, guaranteeing a loan together, just from collaboration, right? So just being a part of the group. So that's what that looks like. We can't wait to have you. We can't wait to see you. Mostly it's going to be led by Tommy. For the folks who know, I have no longer coaching, so I can focus on Vestor, which is my crowdfunding platform. And so Tommy, he's going to step in. That's all right. Y'all in better hands with Tommy anyway. Okay. So Tommy knows way more about hotels, as you can see, just with analyzing the deal, not only getting you to the hotel ownership table, but helping you get your hotel together after you close, right? Getting to the close is the first part, but let's get you there and get you profitable after you close, once those doors opens, once you have the keys to your new place. So if you don't have any other questions, thank you for tuning in. I know some folks will send an email a different way because some folks haven't been able to get the email. So we make sure you get the email so that we get the replay. We appreciate you. Thank you, Tommy, for showing up. I appreciate you, everybody who's been with us for the entire 3 days. I hope that you learned a lot, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Take care, guys. See ya.
I have a question.
Uh-oh.
I'm having trouble getting the replay. Where do I go again for this?
You should be on a dashboard. Hold on. Let me see. Are you getting the emails?
I get the emails of this free challenge, but that's about it.
Yeah, you
Of
should
the
be getting
3-day free challenge.
with the dashboard. Let me see. Now my computer's frozen. It's in the chat. Hold on. I'm trying to pull it up. My computer's frozen. Hold on.
I think I could stroll
Oh.
up all the way to the beginning. It's the first link you had added, right?
Yeah, if it say dashboard, that's it.
Let me see.
'Cause I can't get to it. It's not allowing me. Yeah, that's the link that I put in the chat. And that's the dashboard for you to get the success kit, which is the analyzer that Tommy was talking about. And if you signed up for the monthly coaching program, you'll get the analyzer as well as the different courses and workbooks and templates and everything you need that you'll get to the hotel ownership. Oh, there we go. I found it.
Okay, so the success kit includes all the recordings, or is it the monthly? Okay,
Yeah, so the success kit will include the recordings as well as the analyzer that Tommy just talked about.
okay, got it.
Mhm.
And the other one that you were saying, the monthly, what does that include?
That will include the recordings, that will include the other sessions as well as other modules. It'll include the deal analyzer, it'll include workbooks, it'll include the replays of every month, and then you'll get access to a private Facebook group. And
Okay,
it's
got it. Thank you.
accountability. Yeah, it's just more so accountability. And if you have any questions along the way.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Devonna, this your mail. I'm gonna send you an email because I believe a couple of months ago I emailed you about like one-on-one coaching or something like that. Do you still offer that?
Ooh. Yeah, send me an email.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too. You all have a great evening. Thank you all so much for showing up.
No problem. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.